Welcome to Conversation 473. We're in St. George's, Grenada, as usual. Rolanda is here, Kitaka is here, and we've got a very special guest on tonight. As announced in our last, Judd, Cadet of the New National Party, has joined us for Conversation 473. So share the live, people, as Kitaka would say. Welcome, Judd, Rolanda, Kitaka. You know, let's start by Judd. How has it been for you? You've been in lockdown for some time as well. Good to see your face. How have things been going? How have you been coping?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you and your team for inviting me tonight to be on this program. I've been, I've tried to be, I try to listen and watch your program as frequently as I can. And to answer your question, it's been sort of a bittersweet time in this COVID, as Kitaka would say, COVIDious time. Um, yeah, while I get some time maybe to spend more time with family, you get more time to probably do other stuff. Um, you still have to juggle between balancing your professional life, your personal life, and you're just home. You're just locked inside. Um, it's been very difficult, but I believe that we so far have done well as a country. And it was at the same time you have to understand what the situation was, and you needed to comply with the law, and you needed to ensure that you do what is necessary to ensure that you we can eradicate, get rid of COVID-19. So I want to thank God. I really want to thank God for blessing this nation, and so far we have not recorded any deaths. And in my opinion, we are managing very well. I really want to thank God for keeping us safe during this time.
I share your sentiments. We can all agree that as a nation we have done well. I think we might have some of the best numbers in the entire world as far as COVID is concerned. And certainly, Minister of Health Nicholas Steele seems to be the man of the hour. I understand he's been getting a lot of compliments. I was talking to my brother today, and he was telling me that radio announcers and people all over are singing the praises of the Minister of Health. It was touch and go at the beginning. We had a few shaky moments, wondering whether or not he would have been able to do it. And for the time being, it appears that we have done it. When we open the ports again, I expect that we may have some shaky moments again. So let's hope we don't open it as quickly as our economy is
Yeah,
demanding and dictating. Kitaka, Rolanda, you want to just say hi to the viewers. We'll go to a commercial break and we'll come back and get into the meat of the matter tonight. The topic this week, we're just talking to all the young people who are involved in politics. So far, we've had Tevin Campbell from Carriacou on. We've had Earl Maitland from the Grenada Empowerment Movement, one of our smaller political parties. And tonight we have Judd Cadet from what I like to call the big machinery, the New National Party. Judd is here to chat with us. Word from Kitaka, Rolanda, and to commercial break, and we'll come back with the meat of the conversation. Share the live, people. Share the live.
Yeah, so we're jumping straight into commercial and we'll be right back. So stick with us, guys. Conversation 473.
It is time for Grenada to define for herself what independence means.
What has happened here this morning has made me feel confident to face the future with fortitude, strength, and with hopefulness.
People begin to understand that our lives don't have to be so hard. Things can change.
We are all currently facing the same crisis and very similar challenges. And no one can afford to be myopic or bigoted in this fight. We have no choice but to work together.
We have heard the call and we are determined to come out of this pandemic greater than we entered.
Welcome back, viewers. Judd, welcome again. And for those who may not know who you are, and that might not be a lot of people, Give us a bit of a biographical account of your time so far, and your entrance into politics.
Well,
Tell us who.
sorry, I didn't get the last thing you said.
No, I was saying, tell us who Judd Cadet is. It's a name that we hear a lot. It doesn't go Judd or Mr. Cadet. It's like Judd Cadet. Um, when people talk about you, tell us who that person is.
Right. Well, I am from Granville, St. Andrew, which is a constituency of St. Andrew Southwest. I am, well, 17 days ago, I would have turned 26. I would have born on the 10th of May, 1994. And I've always, I mean, today actually, I was just doing a simple reflection, and I looked, I look back at my life, and I can say that I was always involved in some sort of activity. I can remember in primary school, I mean, as simple as it sounds, I was started off as house captain, PA house, which was greenhouse, which are dominant house at the time, in St. Andrew's Roman Catholic school. And I would have participated in primary school sports, parish sports. I mean, at that time, sports was life to me. In fact, Kitaka will tell you, for those who would have known me from in the earlys, although it was not as big, or would have only known me in the realm of just being participating in sports. I attended the Grenville Secondary School in St. Andrew, and I fundamentally believe that attending Grenville Secondary School would have laid the foundation for my involvement at a higher level. Um, um, I can recall really I was involved at all levels in the school. I was involved from anything academic, sports, cultural activities. I was involved in the Knowledge Bowl. I captained my team to the Knowledge Bowl. I was involved in Brain B, making it to the finals on many occasions. Um, I in sports again. I represented Grenada at the Commonwealth Youth Games in England. Um, Graduated on top of my class. I would have got the principal award at the time. I left secondary school with 10 subjects, and I went to TMRSU Community College, where I pursued my associate degree in natural science. And again, I was also involved there. I mean, the funny thing though, coming from a school as Grenville Secondary School, one that sometimes only make the news in a very not so good light. Going to TAMCC and trying to be involved in different activities was a bit, in some cases, can be considered difficult. Um, but it wasn't that difficult for me. As I would have said, I was always involved in things. I think a lot of students would have known me prior. So I decided that I would have participated in decided I would make a bid for the SRC president. And as I said, coming from Grenville Secondary School, it's very difficult to say you're going to make a bid for SRC president, because at that time this position was mainly dominated by students from the PBC, GBSS, Convent and Anglican High. So I decided, no, I would make a bid for it, to really and truly represent students. And again, I would have won the confidence and trust of the students, and would have become the president of the student council at the time. In fact, if you ask any student at the time, we were probably one of the most active SRC at that time. And it was not only echoed by the students, but also echoed by some of the lecturers there. We were involved in a lot of activities, mainly social. We had stuff like movie nights, karaoke. We had even a bingo. We had even educational stuff. Um, and we really try as much as representing the student. I can recall if you ask me, one of the problems I would have had at the time is that time the school decided they're not going to have sports that year, and I was as well the chairman of the sports committee, um, and a lot of students wanting to have sports. But when the principal put before me the facts that, listen, Thompson students don't come to sports, they come for the after party. We could have an after party, but to waste a lot of resources to do the sports doesn't make sense. I mean, some students thought we should have fought harder for this, but I mean, logically, when you really looked at it, it was I was not convinced that I could have convinced the committee that we could have had sports that year. And then I left MCC, and then I worked for some time. I was appointed CARICOM Youth Ambassador for Grenada. Would have represented Grenada at the 9th UNESCO Youth Forum at Paris, another international and regional meet. Would have been a national youth ambassador before becoming a CARICOM Youth Ambassador. Spent about a couple years working, and then I went to I'm still involved. I'm still there. St. George's University, where I'm pursuing a bachelor degree. I have like a couple of almost semester left. Pursuing my degree in biology. One focus on environmental science, so it's more the conservation marine biology. And yeah, but getting involved in politics was never really something I would have dreamed of in a million years. If you had asked me at 17, 18, what was my goal? And if you had asked me, do I see myself getting involved in politics? I would have told you no. And involvement happens so strange because I was also involved in activities in the previous administration, because during the NDC time I was also part of some of the activities. I was involved in the youth parliament. I was involved in the youth ambassador program. In fact, that's where I got to know most of those young persons like Tevin, Ali, Joel, and those guys, because we are all part of the same team in the youth parliament program. But while I was being involved in those things, being involved in politics was never something that crossed my mind. However, I was invited. The NMP, if you ask me, is the most structured organization, political organization. They have a youth arm, they have a women's arm, and I was invited to a meeting, and then I realized that, you know what, I want to be involved. I mean, simple things like that. I want to be involved in making a difference, and as I mentioned prior to that, I was always involved. I mean, just being involved among young people, planning activities, helping young people. That was something that I found joy doing. So. And then that would have propelled me to become the president of the constituency, St. Andrews Southwest Youth Arm, and as well, that further would have propelled me to become the president of the New National Party Youth Arm. We participated, we are involved at all levels of the party. And after the election in 2018, I was actually engaged to be part of the Senate, and it's an honor to be involved at such a young age. I was appointed at 23, so it was really something that I was appalled and at the same time honored to be involved. So that was my journey towards my involvement in politics.
And
Wonderful.
Certainly an impressive journey. And it's interesting that you say that, you and Ali and Tevin and so were all youngsters together. A lot of people have come out of the youth parliament. Emmeline Pear is a product of the youth parliament as well, and ended up on different sides. But I hope that the good relations that were formed during those youthful days remain with you guys as you move forward on opposite sides in the political arena. Rolanda, you had a question for Judd?
Yeah, what I wanted to say, it's nice to know that because Judd, I've only returned to the Caribbean after being away, to Grenada, returning home after being away for a very long time. And, obviously I'm learning as I go away, as every day. And one of the things, it's very frightening for me. It seems like if you belong to NNP or NDC, people are frightened of mixing because of it seems like there is a vendetta. So it's nice to have heard you say that you was with Kevin and them, and then you decided to join the NNP, which I think people should have a choice of whoever they want to support. But what I'm hearing in Grenada here, if you are NDC and you make it known that you support NDC, you could say, well, your life is over. And I hope, as a young politician, and as we are moving forward, because the older heads are getting on, they will be stepping down, we could build that unity. And it doesn't matter whether you are NNP or NDC, we are all Grenadian and we should be treated equally. So I think it's a very nice way that we'll be starting that, we are one. So, that's a nice, I'm happy about that.
Just to say this, so just want to be clear because I just got the impression. Not like I don't want to come across like I'm saying I was part of the NDC team. Is the government program? They were the government at the time. They had the youth parliament program would have started since 2003, and they continued the program. But so we are all involved in that cluster. That was something that we all look forward to as young persons. People will say, you guys will be future politicians. You guys will be. I mean, some of us we just did it for the fun.
It's
Ali
nothing
and I would
wrong,
have had.
Judd. It's nothing wrong in being part, if you were part of the NDC, so you don't have to apologize. It's
Well,
nothing wrong.
actually, no, actually, Judd isn't apologizing. The youth parliament is a program that it's not run by a political party or anything. It just happened that the NDC was in power at the time when Judd became part of the youth parliament, which includes youths from all
Yes.
walks of life. And his term during that time just happened to
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, Kalisha, people are
on
scared.
to
People are
the
scared.
to
What I'm
the
trying to say,
NDC.
it shouldn't matter when, even if he was, because that is what we are trying to get away from, of people putting themselves in boxes. Whether it was NNP, NDC, if I misread him, it doesn't really matter. We all are one. And it's nice to know that he knows Kevin and he knows they grew up together or they were in the same corporation together. It is just nice to know that they know each other. So as they grow into politics, they're not strangers. It could be, because I know Kevin knows him. They could be able to pick up the phone and chat to each other and work together. And that is what's nice about it. Because what I am seeing as a returnee, it's what I'm hearing, it's not nice of people because they belong to one party, find they are scared to associate themselves with somebody on the other side.
Right. I do
Well,
not
I mean
support. I do not support that type of politics in no way.
Fantastic.
Um, I, we are a small society. We just about what 100,000 people. A constituency is like 4,000 people. Um, the politics of divisiveness doesn't work. We can have differences in opinion. We can have a difference in preferences in political parties. That we could choose a different political party. We could choose a different religion. We can choose differences in food. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't love each other. That doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't talk with each other. We just differences that we have, and believe me, I don't think if you support the NDC means that you don't want the best for Grenada. I don't think I don't believe that fundamentally. I think we all want the best. It's just a matter. We just have a differences in policies. We just have a differences in the vehicle in which that will get us there. And that vehicle may be a political party. And I may say I believe NMP are the better team. Choose to differ with me and say NDC has the better team. But at the end of the day, I believe that you want the same thing that I want, which is the betterment for this country and the betterment for to see Grenada grow and to see our people Canada living increase and to see this country flourish. We all want the same thing. I don't think nobody will want to see Grenada become worse off. I don't think that is the view of any politician or anybody, despite if they have a fundamental difference in terms of a policy direction. I don't think that is the view of anybody.
No, but it is, as again, as I say, as a returning
and
grenade.
no, but I mean, we do have to get other questions in for Judd. And we all know the state of things, and the partisan politics is a reality, and it's something that we definitely have to work through. Judd is here representing his party, and certainly the politically correct thing to say is that it's all hands on deck, and certainly he's right in saying that everybody wants the best for the country. Some people may not agree as to who the best is to lead us into the future. Let's move on to one of the things that I have noticed, and I believe other people are noticing too, is the scarcity of young people in not just politics, but as a voice in national issues, Judd. Almost as if we had teenagers being part of raising a revolution in 1979. They were so young. Now we seem to have young people who are preoccupied with wearing their pants in the wrong place and spending a lot of time on social media, looking at memes and being ridiculous, and not really deeply involved in trying to help chart and have a voice in national events. Care to comment on that? I mean, how do we energize our youth to take the reins for the next steps ahead we have to take?
Well, Ms. Faria, I fundamentally share the view that what would have been the cause of that would have been the view of politics in the past. In the past, a man involved in politics, you let your allegiance known, you let who you support known, and if your party lose an election, you're dead. Um, that is not an encouraging thing for a young person. Um, Especially if you come from a disadvantage, have a disadvantage upbringing. It's not encouraging. We want to have a good life, and if I make my political affiliation known as NNP, and um, NNP lose an election, and you have to face victimization, um, it's not an encouraging. So people, your parents will tell you, don't get involved in this thing. Your neighbors will tell you, don't get involved in this. Your friends will tell you, don't get involved. I remember when the first time I stood on a platform, NMP platform, that was a couple years ago, maybe around 2013, 2014. These are about 2014. And when I came off the stage, a couple days walking through Grenville, I mean, people were saying, "Boy, Judd, you sure you want to do this thing, boy? You sure you want to do that?" I mean, people was like, literally, some people got fearful for me. It was not an encouraging thing. And it's a point you start second guessing you start second guessing your thoughts. You start wondering if you actually made the right decision. I mean, this is the fear that some young people actually have to live with. And I think the start of politics needs to change. It needs to change. As I mentioned, your political affiliation doesn't mean that you are counter development. Doesn't mean that you don't want the best for your country. Doesn't mean that. Um, and I totally believe that we have to encourage more young person being part. And I think that is where we have to have that wider discussion and encouraging young people. Because even today, when you have discussion with young persons, even to join our youth arm, to be deeper part of the party, young people want to be involved. Some of them will say, "Boy, I want to be involved, but I don't want my political speakers to be here." These are the challenges. So we have to change that concept. It's
Judge,
okay. Mhm.
Judge, one of the things what you are saying, yeah, it sounds good, but it's not real. You seen the problem I had with Spice Mass. I could not get any one of my workers to come with me. Everybody in Grenada, people are scared of speaking up. People are victimized. And that is the sad thing. And we have to stop sweeping it underneath the carpet. People will not get involved in politics. People will not speak publicly. I remember saying to somebody, "Do you have an exit poll for election?" And people, even at work, people will not speak of who they support because of the victimization. Look at, I am here, come here to create jobs, and I am in court now with the government to sell my products. So this type of politics that we have here, it is wrong. I don't know who is causing it. Number one, up to now, over a year, the government hasn't come to me and sat down and said, Ms. McQueen, we have made a mistake. What has happened there? It's wrong. We need every Grenadians to get involved. Grenada is just for the chosen few. You know, people as Judd, you lot are the new politicians that are coming up. Believe me, Grenadians are scared of getting involved in politics. One woman said to me, since we had that situation, Montpellier has, the sale has reached right up because people are protesting in that way behind the back. They're saying, Miss McQueen, we cannot come forward and say anything because if we do, I may lose my job. My kid may not get a scholarship. I don't know who they're speaking about, but believe me, Grenadians have feel victimized. I had to think twice before I come forward. And what people saw in the video, I had written to Spy Smarts, I had called them, I did everything. And they're still taking me to court. This is politics. This is government. We are creating jobs. As I said last year, my salary bill was 350,000, and I am all for coming together. But we cannot water it down and make it look all sexy and make people think things, people are not victimized. I'm not blaming the people at the top because sometimes, well, let's say people at the top, the prime minister, because maybe sometimes he don't even know what is going on. But somebody has to investigate. Grenadians are victimized.
Well, I would not. I cannot speak directly towards any sort of victimization. It's not a view. From where I sit, Ms. McQueen. This is not
Yeah.
a view from the leadership of the organization. This is not this. We don't believe that in at the helm of the new national party and at the helm of the government. I've never engaged in any discussion and conversation with the leadership where the conversation is about anybody that don't support us, block them from opportunities. This is not a view or consensus by this administration, by the government and the party that I support. I can speak to that um, um, from where I sit. In fact, the prime minister will always say to you, he will always say, listen, we cannot build support if we excluding people. Um, if we cannot um, if we continue to exclude people, how could you expect to develop this country? That's the fundamental view of the prime minister, and I cannot, and for me personally as a young person, I don't support that sort of politics. This was the politics that made others want to discourage me from getting involved. This was the politics that I heard my parents spoke about. I don't believe in that politics. And as I told you, where I sit, this is not the conversation that we're having. So if it is happening, I don't think it is a directive from the leadership. I mean, people will do things. People will always try to, and I don't think this is something that we at the leadership is supporting. That's not something that we are supporting. I mean, people will
Right.
people will face things this where there are challenges. We're not saying that those things don't happen. But this is not a consensus at the level of and the leadership of the party and the government. This is not something that we support at all.
Well, Judd, sometimes when one looks at the evidence, when one looks at what is happening, what you see, it's very hard to even believe in the position that you have presented. Of course, no political party or no government is going to admit that they are retaliating against people who do not pledge loyalty and fealty to them. But Ms. McQueen was talking about her personal experience, and I am very reluctant to talk about my personal experiences on the show. But there are two big incidents. Now, I am a journalist and I don't take sides. And when the NDC was messing up, and my use my program to speak on behalf of the nation, not for any political party. And I think people may have misunderstood my position, my intention, and um, I am considered an NBC journalist, and I have faced a lot of victimization as a result. I mean, some of it has resulted in physical assaults on me. Those took place in front of cameras for everybody to see. So, if we have a situation where a journalist doesn't appear to be towing the line and can be so openly attacked, then I shudder to think what is happening in other spheres where such a bright light is not being shown on what's going on. The bottom line is that in partisan politics, victimization of those who appear or those who are perceived to be against you when you have the reins of power, it's human nature, really, to want to bring them to heel. It's human nature, and it doesn't matter how well intentioned people are, and certainly alienating people is not a good strategy for winning votes, and so that is going to have to be what's on paper. But it happens, and there are people. For instance, with Winston Garraway, I don't think the prime minister instructed him to shove me down, but he felt that this is what was best based on the desires and expectations of the party that he has spent so many years with and knows inside out and knows so well, that the way he treated me would be something that would win him favor with his with his group. So that's my personal take on it, that we can't
Yeah,
pretend that
Judd,
victimization
now
yeah.
is
I
not
have
happening.
I'm not
now
saying,
I have
I don't want to make it seem like these things don't exist. But what I'm saying to you, from the leadership, this is not something that I mean, from where I sit at the executive, um, and at the party level, and our discussion I've never reached to the point where someone say, "Boy, this person is an NDC. Let's or this person don't support us. Let's exclude them." That's never the discussion. In fact, I am tired hear the prime minister um
But
make
just
sentiment.
somebody is doing wrong to the prime. I had an incident with a foreign investor. She said to me, and I have it on tape, it is recorded, that we had a dispute about something, and she said to me, my next call is going to be to the prime minister. If you don't get back in your box and keep your little self quiet, I am going to call the prime minister. Well, you could imagine this recorded. Where are these things coming from? Who is feeding these things? Because as I have said before, I came here because the same thing you have said that the Prime Minister has said, it does not matter if you are NNP or if you are NDC. It's about building our island. But when a foreigner could have the confidence to tell me that if I speak up, she's going to pick the phone up and call the prime minister, and I said, I've got it on tape. That if I was the type of person that was frightened or scared of, maybe I was going to get a contract, I would have kept quiet. So we have to find out who is doing this type of things and let them pay for it, let they be challenged against it, because it is happening. And when I'm hearing you as a new leader coming up and saying you do not know of these things or you do not hear of them,
No,
I
I'm
am
not saying I do not know of or hear about them. What I'm saying
so
is
then
that
when
this is
you
not.
hear about them, what do you do? When you hear about them, if somebody come to you, like I am saying to you now, this is the experience I have had. I have been here, started a business in 2 years, and I've had to go to court to sell products that I'm trying to build my country. I had a foreigner telling me if I don't keep myself quiet, she's going to call the prime minister, right? What are we? I hope after the show, you will meet up with me and we have to stop that, because Grenadians, there are a lot of Grenadians that are saying these things are happening to them. Lots of people saying that. Somebody came up to me once and said to me, "Oh, somebody, I don't know, the bodyguard of the prime minister said I just speak about him." And I say, "Of course, he's the prime minister. I'm supposed to speak about him." One of the things, Judd, I am support whoever is in government. I support them 100%. And please sure everybody know I support. If there is an election now, I think I would vote for the prime minister. I never voted. But there are things, and maybe as you said, it's not him that is doing it, but there are people that is dirtying the water for other people, and it's not nice. And we have to sort that out because Grenadians are victimized. Grenadians, I know of somebody that live in near Pearl's airport. The woman, if you saw her house, she has very bright children, they're doing well. And because she support NDC, she will not get the pass, they wouldn't even give her some gold to repair the house. And this is going on. Maybe what you need to do is to get people to go around and see the type of victimization that is happening to Grenadians. Because, okay, I don't believe it's coming from the top, but it's coming from the people down, and we have to open our eyes and stop pretending that it's not happening.
Well, I will continue to make the point that this is not the position that we take, we promote from the leadership end. Of course, as you said, people will always have a view. We have to continue to ensure that we continue to educate our people, continue to educate people in general, the general population. And this is not the type of politics we should promote. And we have to continue to do so. I mean, sometimes people do things and people think we come from the top, but that's not the case. So I agree. We need to continue to disseminate the information of a unified politics, not a divisive one.
Okay, I've been listening to guys for a bit. We're going to change the mood a bit, Judd. I mean, right now, Judd, we are in the COVID times. It's a unique experience. A lot is going on. I want to get your take on a couple of current issues, things that's going on in the country right now. First thing, what's your views on the phased out process to get school back and running at the start of June?
Well, from my understanding, what they're going to do is from five, they're trying to engage them so that prepare them for their CPA. I mean, sorry, for their CXC. Um, I know there is a plan to roll out school to start school in September. Um, I think it's something that the COVID situation is a very unique situation. I mean, you're learning as you go along. You're trying as much to study other countries and see what they're doing and probably learn what are the best practices. Um, but it's one that you have to take baby steps, because we don't want a situation where you open school and you see a rise or influx in cases again. We see, well, St. Vincent, they had open school. They have their 6 feet distancing. They're maintaining the social distance. But when you're dealing with children, dealing with students, it's a different ball game. So I think, in my view, um, I think the Ministry of Education, they're actually taking the right step of engaging different stakeholders, the unions, and really trying to ensure they properly thought through this process. For some, it may seem a little bit um, disjointed, but it's one that I believe that needs to take baby steps. You need to take baby steps, um, and then eventually we will have everything flow smoothly. So I think we are doing so well for now. I won't go down the road and try to make this seems like we have it all figured out yet, but it's about taking those small steps, and eventually we'll have everything figured out.
Um, Judd, my internet went off for just a second. Technical difficulties again, so I did not hear that last question. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, because the program is focusing on the future of politics in Grenada, what the next generation is going to bring to the table. And a good night to Mrs. Vanessa Rache. And sometimes a program does not stick exactly to the letter, and one understands certain things based on one's intellectual capacity. And I certainly hope that you do enjoy the program tonight, Vanessa. Judd, one of the things people talk about is that the NNP is going to continue to run Grenada for a long time for various reasons. The major reason being that there are no major viable options for people to turn to. No other party strong enough financially and otherwise to come up against the NNP. And they say it's very difficult for a sitting government to lose an election. We won't get into the why of that. And but one of the questions that comes up a bit is there a succession plan within the NNP? And as one of the youths within the party, Next Gen, do you feel like the provisions are being made for you guys to take over the party? People feel like Dr. Mitchell is there and he's going on and on and on and on, and he's not letting go. I mean, we expected him to have sat it out maybe 2 elections ago, and he still hasn't. And it appears as if he is going to not sit it out for 2022, 2023. Do you believe that and I'm not even sure I'm asking you the question in a way for me to get the answer, but do you believe that a succession plan is in the making for you guys who are working to win the youth vote for this party? Because you're very valuable to the party. The youth vote is a major part of the arsenal of the NNP, and so having a youth voice to bring them into the fold is critical and important. But as far as leadership and succession is concerned, what's happening there?
Well, I mean, the party is doing what it needs to do. Um, I don't see us having any problem whenever the time comes around for leadership. The party, in fact, we have 15 candidates, 15 government ministers, 15 members of parliament, and all are capable to lead whenever the time comes. Any one of them decides to pick up leadership, have the capability to do so. Um, I don't see us having any shortage or deficit of leaders in the party. I think we have a very strong team, diverse, well experienced. Anyone can take it. I think the party has shown time and time again that there are structures in place. We have the level of organization from constituency to national level. When the time comes, Kalisha, the party will in a convention and will make the membership will make the decision as to who shall be the successor. But as of now, I think everybody is possibly capable. We could go to anyone. And there are others that may not be ministers at this point in time, may not be at the front line, but they're involved. So we have a diverse team. I mean, for me at this point in time, NMP is quite strong and will continue to grow. And we will continue to nurture individuals. My role in the party as a young person, I'm involved in all levels, and the party is investing a lot in young people's development. Um, the party regularly train, um, have training activities. They involve us in discussion. We are heavily involved in the election campaign, not just as getting you vote, but we are involved in actually um, running an election campaign. So we are involved at all levels. And we're getting the training, we're getting necessary mentorship and advice from the seniors in the party. So I think the party is quite capable and ready at any point.
Judd,
Yes, sir.
sorry, when you say the party is involving the young people a lot, when the party lost 300 million US, and then they go and sell Glenegg, our electricity company, for 200 million US. Did they discuss that with the young people that's coming? Because do you know, we all would be dead and gone, and this debt would be left for you, Callistra children. What did all you say about that? Did all you have anything to say um, about that? People losing money, 300 million US from government minister to be given. I'm quoting from Mr. Michael Batiste. What did you say as a young as a senator when they come and you see 300 million US being taken by con men? What are your view on that?
Well, Miss McQueen, what I'll say is this. Uh, eh, your question was a little bit convoluted in the sense that I wasn't sure if you were talking about Grenada or if you're
No,
um,
well, we're talking about both because that's 500 million. 200 million from Grenada, 300 million taken by con men. You say the party invest a lot in the government, in the young people. If all you have 500 million US to pay, there is nothing left to invest in, you guys.
yeah. But Miss McQueen, I will not. I'm not in a position to really speak about conmen activities. I don't know. I don't know of anything relating to conmen. I have never. I don't think the party have given any resources to conmen. I just
So
think.
the money from the passport, have we got Mr. Michael Batiste's letter? Are you saying that this is the first time you're hearing that $51 million for the citizenship by investment was
As far
given?
as far as I understand about this, there's an investigation ongoing. I'm not at
So
liberty
it
to
is
speak
some, so
about that.
it is, but no, you should be because remember, again, a lot of things is hidden here. When you say you're not at liberty, these things should be put in the public domain so
Yeah,
we know what's going on,
but
because at the
remember,
end of the
it's an
day,
investigation. So they're doing the work.
but
I'm not going
not
to.
only them, Judd, that is just one. It comes up, he only take 51 million. It come up to 300 million. So because say it happened once, it's a mistake. Twice, it's a mistake. It happened 5 times. That is not a mistake.
Oh, I don't know what about 5 times it's a mistake. I mean, I don't want to. I don't think the view or the direction you're trying to go is like it's a habit of the new national party of giving away resources. That's not it. I mean, I don't think no political leader will sit at the throne and just let money just go through that. I mean, yes, there are projects that we wanted to start, or we wanted to happen. Some of them didn't happen. But as I said, these things do happen in development. We cannot allow those things to continue to happen. We have to strengthen laws, and in some cases we have to try as much to see how we can recuperate back, those investments. Um,
Yeah, well, I hope so because
Well,
um,
George, Ms. Marco, you have a few questions, important questions coming in on the chat as well too. It's an interactive show as well. First question for you, Judd, from Michelle Sabrina Alexander. How do you feel about revamping of the agro-processing industry? Do you think that more attention should be given to agriculture and avoiding wastage of our resources?
oh, definitely. I strongly support that we need to put more resources as well as have an organized structure towards the development of our agriculture sector. That is important. I mean, if you cannot feed yourself, you're basically um, you're not going to contribute to your development. So, and a healthy nation, as people will say, is definitely a wealthy nation. We have to reduce our input bills. These are the things that we have to do. We have to place greater focus on those areas. But again, these things um, takes time, and I believe that with this COVID situation has really put, I really allowed us to focus on things that really are really priority. And agriculture is certainly one area that we need to definitely focus on. And I strongly believe this is an area that we need to strongly be involved in. We need to have strong policy. Um, um, we need to have a strong policy on agriculture. We need to continue to invest more. These are the things that we have to do. No doubt about that. We cannot develop if we do not look at the agricultural sector.
But Judd, the CBI program, offers us a wonderful opportunity to broaden our investment portfolio in Grenada. But and the question from that viewer was one of the questions I actually had to ask you. So it ties in nicely that our CBI program seems to focus a lot on hotels and recreational stuff, not on things like health and manufacturing and agro processing and agriculture and education. Um, do you think that is a viable direction to go, given the fragility of the tourism sector? We've seen what has happened to us over the last few weeks because we've hung our hat on tourism. We're not using. We don't seem to be attracting investors who want to put monies in those areas. And I know you probably bring up the cane coast situation. Oh, please don't, because planting cane in the hot sun in Grenada right now is something I find very offensive. But we are not bringing in people to invest in those areas. Why is
Well,
that?
I
Is it
think
that
we
the
actually
government does
have we
not
actually
believe
do
in those
have
areas?
we actually do have one agricultural project that is St. David's Agro. Um, that is actually an agricultural project. That's a listed citizenship by investment program project. Um, but the we not like we're not encouraging investment in agriculture. An investor has an idea. An investor want to invest in agriculture is free to come and do so. I mean, the Citizenship by Investment Act has two sections. You have the Section 10, which deals with the National Transformational Fund, and you have the Section 11, which deals with special project. And a special project can be real estate, it can be agriculture, it can be those projects. The truth about it, when you look at citizenship by investment programs throughout the world, they mainly tend to be real estate oriented. Special projects tend to be real estate oriented. You look at St. Kitts, you look at Antigua, you look at St. Lucia, it's mainly real estate, even Dominica, real estate oriented. And that is because investors, when investing in a project, they want to have some level of ownership, whether it be a title deed, whether it be shares. They want to have some level of ownership. But I strongly support your view, Kalisha, that we will, I think, having more agricultural project is something that I would love to see under citizenship by investment program, not only in Grenada, but throughout the region. I look through those programs and it's mainly real estate oriented.
More questions from the commenters, Judd. We have a question here. What are your views moving past the COVID situation? How can we sustainably rebuild our economy and develop our country moving forward?
Well, clearly we have to diversify our economy. I think um, the process of diversification has started, but we need to move. We can't continue to move snail pace. We have to ramp up on this because COVID had taught us a very the lesson of diversification of the economy. Not like you're saying you don't need tourism. Tourism will always play an integral role in our economy, and that's a fact. But you need to diversify. You need, as Michelle would have said, you need to include. You need the agricultural sector. You need to boost this. We need to look at the blue economy. I'm a strong supporter of the blue economy. The Caribbean is showing that the gross revenue annually is like $400 billion from the ocean. But we can do better. We can do better. So we need to look at the blue economy. We need to look at technology. How can we make the Caribbean a hub for technology development? Maybe a sort of Silicon Valley. How could we make Grenada like that? How can we get Grenada to that level? Singapore has done it. Um, we have other small islands are trying to do it. So we have to look at diversification. We also have to learn fiscal responsibility, and this is something that I don't think we praise the government enough for. Fiscal responsibility is something that we have to understand and we have to implement in this time. Um, um, the government had in 2013 they would have implemented the homegrown structural adjustment program. They would have had the contingency fund, um, where resources every month or every year, a percentage of your revenues is going to a special fund. We need to build a resilient economy. So in case one doesn't do good, you have several other pillars that your country is on. So these are the things that we need to look at as a small island. I mean, we have to also take into consideration our limitation and our challenges. The region, we were a small state. We face severe challenges. Um, we face the effects of climate change, which is an existential threat. Um, as it said that we produce negligible greenhouse gases, but we are the first to face the severe effects of climate change. All right, so we have to we have to build resilience. So yes, we have COVID, but we also have to look at the climate change. You have to look at natural disasters. You have to look at all those factors, and the only how we can ensure that we are prepared for those things is building and having a diversified economy and building some level of resilience, and resilience in different areas: social, fiscal, and infrastructure resilience.
And Judd, you made the point about the environment. There's another question here from Killan Bob. You operate in the environmental space. Now, how do you feel about the destruction of the wetlands in Las Ages that is making a way for a hotel? How does the government reconcile the blue economy push while at the same time destroying the valuable environmental spaces?
Right. Well, Kitaka, I'm a strong believer in the I'm a strong supporter of the environment. But as I said, as a small island state, you have to come to terms with your limitations and the challenges that you face. You know, development comes at a cost, and we sometimes we want to develop because we have to create jobs for our people. We have an economy to run, but at the same time, it must be done sustainably. In fact, research will teach you, Kitaka. Well, I've read a lot of scientific publications, and what he has said that a lot of conservation efforts failed because we're not taking into consideration the socio-economic impact or the socio-economic implications of things. So, for example, you might say, let's conserve this, but a community is depending on those resources, and that will cause to the destruction. Now, to the point of last just destruction. I mean, yes, it was not the most healthy sight to see the destruction of mangroves and understanding the valuable role mangrove play in our society. But we are a very small country. We're just 133 square miles. And if we are talking about development and developing this country, the question is, what are we willing to give? It has to be done sustainably, as I said, but it has to be balanced between the environment and developing. And that is sometimes how the difficult decision you have to make from a policy level, especially when you're small. Because anywhere you decide to put a development, some level of environmental degradation will happen. That's a tough reality. You have to do it if you're thinking about development. But as I said, it has to be done sustainably. I don't expect you to go and just destroy all trees or mangroves, destroy those things without any consideration of because that's not sustainable. But as I said,
But
for a small state, some level of environmental degradation will happen. And that's the case. What happened with last? Just it's not the most healthy site. Maybe and I know for a lot of environmentalists that's a very gruesome side to them. But in Tikitaka, that's sometimes the cost we pay for development. I hope.
Judd, Judd, I am disappointed that as a future politician, as a potential future leader of this country, this is the position that you have taken on that last situation. Um, Seriously, we are small. We keep using that excuse. We are small. We are small. We are small to give away more and more and more of ourselves. Eventually, there will be nothing left for us. Okay, Grenada is in perpetuity. We have generations and generations to come, and this is not. No one should cut down a mangrove, but this was not local people doing it, as far as I understand. This is not the first mangrove that has been destroyed for development. That should be a no-no for the government, okay? The mangrove is the lifeblood. You know, you talked about 133 square miles. Those mangrove that we have is as important. It's the blood of the country, okay? The veins and the arteries, okay? And the living part of this country. And we cannot allow that to happen. There comes a point when, as a government, we must draw the line and say, hey, and no further. There are certain things that we cannot give up in the name of development. And that has to be the position of our new politicians who are coming up. We cannot be business as usual. We have seen so much given away, so much thrown away. You know, Ms. McQueen was talking about the $300 million, a lot of bad deals. And, you know, we talked about that on the program that, you know, how could one particular party be so good, so prolific at getting the worst of the worst when it comes to investment, that people who don't follow through on the investments or just take the money and abscond with it and so on, right?
But
We
Kalisha, remember
have
I spoke about sustainable. I mean, I what I
no,
what
no,
I
Judd, no, no, Judd, you kept saying sustainable. Yes, we duking it out now, right? um, you know, you spoke about you were speaking from both sides of your mouth, and I didn't like that because um, I understand that you are always wearing the hat of the political party, but I would like to think, and it would make my heart so comfortable if the young people within that party are able to speak their mind and stand up for what is right. I don't believe that you think that there is any room for compromise when it comes to cutting down even one section of a mangrove anywhere here in Grenada, unless it has to do with saving human lives. And but you can't say that, and that worries me. Okay, we cannot give away our prime sites and talk about, oh, it's the price we have to pay for development. Not when that development is not related to agriculture, is not related to health, is not related to education. Not when we are giving up all these things for development, but still have one of the worst the schools. I mean, have you been to those schools lately to see the bathroom conditions that our children have to use? You know, have you been to the hospital recently, Judd? You know the crisis with the hospital, right? We keep talking about, oh, we're a small nation, so we have problems with education and we have problems with health. And then on the other side, we're a small nation, so we've got to give away. And when the investors come, there's nothing we can do because we need the money. You know, what about developing, giving a good faith effort to developing our productive sectors so that we can have these areas rise on our list of what's important on our GDP. You know, the CBI program, this is like a fast money kind of thing, okay? That is not sustainable. And the projects that it's bringing, they are not sustainable, okay? These are fly by night, seriously. And I know that the Eastern Caribbean, they're all gung-ho about it now. Dominica and St. Lucia, everybody's doing it. And they're doing it because of a lot of the bad practices that we have implemented over the decades in our country that have found ourselves seriously underdeveloped and in a very bad position. That now anybody who comes with a sweet talk gets to gets the best of us. And
Can I?
there cannot be any compromise with the environment. Like seriously, no, no,
no,
no, no, no.
but
As
I
a
mean,
young politician, you can't say sustainable on one side of your mouth
Kalisha,
and then go
my point,
small
as I
on
mentioned,
go
my
ahead.
point, my point was, as I said, it's a hard sight. It was not the most pleasant sight for any person to see the destruction of mangroves. But as I mentioned, when you're that small, Kalisha, and you really you're talking about development. I'm not saying that all mangroves should be cut down. That's not my position. I'm not saying that.
Oh no, and
But
I didn't think you were either. No, no,
I'm
I
not
didn't think
saying
you were
that. But
saying
I'm
that.
also, but I'm saying to the point that, at any point you would have put this development, some level of environmental degradation would have happened. Some level of environmental degradation would have happened. And that's the cost sometimes, Kalisha, that when we're talking about development, whether you're building a house or you're putting a hotel, that's the cost sometimes we have to pay with development. I'm not saying that we have to accept it, because you can't just destroy the environment, continue to destroy the environment. Because what will happen if you have no environment? But at the same time, it has to be done sustainably, and that's what sustainable development means. Sustainable development means that at the same time you could provide for your people, or at the same time protecting the environment. And that is something. And because I will not, I don't, I'm not saying here that all mangroves just cut down. That's not my view at all. But it happens, and development comes sometimes at a cost, and that's some of the costs we have to pay. But sometimes we have to have this tough and real discussions.
Now,
Um,
as I'm in the, I'm in the water business. As drought within the Caribbean wears on, countries in the region faces great risk as the tourism-based economies rely heavily on clean water. Rely heavily on clean, sustainable water sources. And that doesn't even begin to address the challenges of providing clean water to sustain agricultural initiative or maintain the health of our own people. We having all these hotels being built. Where are we going to get the water? If we do not have clean water, our people will suffer. With all this big development, has anybody think of where the water is going? We're going to get the water to sustain this huge 5 stars hotels. They have to wet the grass. Where are we going to get the water from?
I believe that where some level of innovation will have to come into play. I believe we have to look at different mechanisms. You can look at desalination. You could look yeah, you're at the desalination plants. Um, as I tell as an environmentalist, and I just want to always make the point because I'm not a proponent and I believe in complete destruction of the environment, but you have to protect your rainforest, especially Granada, because it plays a significant role in us having a sustainable frequent use of water. Um, and as I said, desalination will also play a major role in that development. Um, but I want to get to the point because I sometimes think we make hotel and tourism feel like it's such a bad thing. And I fundamentally don't believe that. In fact, tourism will continue to grow in the region. Grenada is far from it. Grenada is far from it. Grenada, we have, I don't, the last stats I heard, we haven't even crossed 2,000 rooms. All right, we're far from it. So we have to look at tourism. Tourism needs to grow, but with tourism growing doesn't necessarily mean you're not focusing on the other areas. It doesn't mean that. And I think every time we have the discussion, it's like tourism is a wash child. Um, that's not the case. You have to, as I mentioned, diversify the economy. We need to look at the blue economy. We need to look at our agriculture sector. We need to look at technology, and we can do all that, and that can happen while at the same time we continue to ensure that we boost our tourism product.
Judd,
I think
Miss Markin, question from me. Judd, we're taking it a bit closer to home right now. The issue with the busmen and the cost and so on. Where do you stand on the fence? Do you think that the government should provide a subsidy to the busmen, or do you think the busmen should just ride it out in how things are right now?
Well, Kitaka, my position on this is I haven't at this point in time I don't have a definite position, to be honest with you, because I'm still analyzing this. It's a tough situation for everyone. Um, the busmen, if you're asking them to have reduced numbers, um, in some cases, buses that would not have had passengers have to, not passengers, sorry, conductors. They must have conductors, so that's an additional cost of those buses. Um, so obviously there's an increasing cost that they have to do, and in some cases they're not making the same amount of money that they have, and plus you still have the limited state of emergency in which you have a limited hours in which you have to operate in. But at the same time, you have to also understand that we all in this heat together. Um, I feel it, you feel it. People are losing jobs. I mean, this is a tough situation. So it's a very hard decision. I mean, I think 50 cents that the bus association is asking for. Some may say it's not a lot, but it's not really 50 cents. Some it's $1 because if I'm paying 50 cents to go Granville, I mean 250 it'll be $3 and $3 is actually a extra dollar you're asking me to pay. So it's a I think we have to thoroughly evaluate the socioeconomic implication of that. Look at both sides of the angle, and I think both sides there are justifiable reasons, both on the busman side and also why one shouldn't get it. So it's a tough decision, and I think At this point, and the government have not had they haven't made a decision on it as yet. They're still evaluating it. But I think both sides, as I mentioned, there are justified reasons. I'm still going through. In fact, this was a long discussion today with my team, my young friends. We are having a very heated debate on what should be the position. And in fact, we were still at a deadlock in the discussion. So it's something that we have to evaluate. I mean, as I said, both sides has justifiable reasons. Your mic is off, Kitaga.
Judd, you need to
One, yeah, it's back
Kitaka
on
is coming.
now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So Jordan, in 2017, the global legal marijuana market was worth around $8.5 billion. The market proceeds to expect and is estimated to reach a figure of 25 billion by 2025. Now, where do you stand on the fence in terms of marijuana and legalization and Grenada actually reaching to a point where we can tap into that kind of a revenue streams, understanding as well where we are in our financial situation right now?
Well, well, I last thing I've heard it was well, you did give the date, but I heard it's also projected at about $55.8 billion. I mean, it shows as a promising area to raise funds for any country. But as I said, we can't just look at it from one angle. And then when you're looking at policy and you're looking at running a country, it's just not just looking at sorry, the amount of money you could raise, but you also have to look at the social implication as well. I mean, would there be any social implications? Um, what does it mean for young people? What I mean, these
But
are the
Judd,
kind
if
of
I
factors
but
to look
Judd, if
at.
I can come in to use your similar logic that you used prior in terms of the environmental issue, where we have to take certain sacrifices for the betterment. I think there's a potential lower opportunity cost there with that compared to the destruction of the mangroves. So
But,
I would wonder why not?
but Kitaka,
Why?
if I could come in, we just have 300 acres of land to make rum,
Mhm.
and
But
none of
I think the discussion when it comes to marijuana that we throw in alcohol to make it seems like it's okay to have. I'm not saying marijuana is bad, but it's like when we put in our alcohol and then compare it to marijuana, say well legalize marijuana and you still have to deal with the issues of alcohol. I don't think
Well,
it's
I
really
think, Judge, I think most people
promising thing to
here,
do.
we could have farmers growing a plot of marijuana where we could export it, a medical marijuana. I do not think this 300 acres of sugar cane to make rum, we have enough rum here, would benefit any Grenadian unless they get a day work going and cleaning sugar cane. I think if we have farmers, small farmers, growing marijuana that we can export it as medical for medical marijuana, I think the country will benefit a lot more. If you want to give Grenadian 300 acres, we was to take that 300 acres of sugar cane land and give it to our Grenada farmers, I think we will become more sustainable. We'll be able to rely more on ourselves because now with COVID, nobody expected. I don't think we could go and suck sugar cane.
Yeah, but there's also an alternative view. I mean, note I haven't stated my position, but there's also an alternative view to your statement. They also believe that as the market continues to open up and with marijuana, that just like how we lost in in the banana industry, that we may as well lose in that marijuana race. Not about being first, but the fact that there are countries that may be able to produce greater quality, great at a greater quantity, and we may lose that in that sense. There's also that discussion um, that is happening, and this is a debate that is happening as it relates to small island states moving into that direction. And when you have other countries like Chile and these countries large land spaces that could plant more and do greater quality, these are the sort of discussion that is happening. But as I said,
But
it's a position. It's something. It's something
Judd,
that
we
I need to
have
be looked
just
at both
won.
sides. Hmm.
We could have said the same thing about water. We have just went up against 120 countries, 5 continents in the world, and come back home with silver for one of the best water in the world. We have fantastic soil. We have best cocoa. We've got the best water. We've got the best honey. So I think we should be given, or farmers should given that opportunity to see if we could have the best marijuana as well. If we wait, we are going to miss the train. We are going to get on the back burner because people look at our soursop. We have the best soursop. Grenada is the only island in the world that can export the fruits to America. So that just shows you the quality of our soil.
Ms. McQueen, if I may add as well to, and George, just as a piece of advice for you as well as a young politician, Grenada can never compete with scale in terms of other countries, in terms of mechanization, land space, and so on. But what we have is premium quality. Now, with premium quality, you can get premium prices and you can be at the top end of the scale. So, in terms of what we have, that would have to be the modus operandi or the strategy we'd have to use to really maximize on whatever we have. We have to go for the premium market. We cannot go for the mass market because we don't have the economies of scale to do it, and I think you would understand that. But for the question is that, what's your position? What's the position of your government on marijuana and going forward?
Well,
What's
at
your
this point in
timeline in
time,
terms of
And
getting
one,
it?
one
at
and
this
one of the
point in
things we
time,
should one of the things we should do is to focus on the word decriminalization, which is, people hear legalization and think, okay, everybody's going to be walking on the road smoking a spliff, and certainly the decriminalization of it, and we're talking about medicinal marijuana right now, really is the discussion that Grenada ought to be focusing on. So that this is where we want to go with the program. Yeah.
I support this decriminalization of a certain quantity. I mean, people making jail for small amounts. I don't think this is something that we should continue. In fact, future generation may not be very kind to us if we continue along that line. But as at this time, Kitaka, um, um, our position on legalization is that we need to further research and understand again both sides of the discussion.
But what I'm saying is that,
It's not something I would and Kitaka, we have to be responsible as young person. I mean, we have to be very responsible. I'm not going to give you a position and then a couple of months and weeks.
I know, Judd, but we have to we cannot be naive as well. Judd, any young man that want to smoke a spliff right now could smoke a spliff in Grenada. Any young man that want to smoke a spliff right now could go by the local drug dealer and smoke a spliff. So that is not what we're talking about. So even that protective measure is not there. We're talking about how we tapping into the economical benefits,
And that's something
minimizing.
I'm saying that we will do further assessment and research in.
Okay.
I'm not. It's that's the responsible thing to do. We have to. The thing about I believe what happens in terms of politics, we don't spend much time understanding the science of a lot of things. Scientists spend so much time doing research, and we sometimes just have an idea in mind and just go about it without understanding the science and sometimes the simple economic and socioeconomic implication of certain other things. So it is important that any responsible person will take some time and further analyze those things. There are a lot of research publication on those things, and that is my
Judge,
position. I'm starting the discussion on it. Sorry, go ahead,
Judd,
Mr.
Judd,
McQueen.
COVID-19, the injection they have for COVID-19 that they will be bringing here, did any of our scientists research it? But we are going to get it here anyway. You say all the research for marijuana, medical marijuana. I think if we wait for our scientists to
I'm not
research
saying it
it,
has to be our scientists. I'm not saying
well,
that
it's
because
been done. It's
the
been done.
publication
The
the
researches has been
publication is
done.
there. So
It's
we have to
there.
spend more time analyzing the research and
Analyzing what? We will be late. If we start to analyze it, Judge, we're not going to get on the bandwagon. It's been done, it's there. What we have to do is to take it and go with it. I do hope we analyze all the injection that has come and experiment on our kids down here. I hope all you analyze it the same way, like like we're still analyzing marijuana. It's been analyzed, it's been there, it's been proven. I think we should just get on the bandwagon now.
I saw a comment from Kellen Bob saying that the decriminalization or the legalization of marijuana is a matter of economic and social justice. I just wanted to put that out there as well. And you know, we I've heard the argument that the whole medicinal marijuana thing market is going to become outdated by the time we get on it. And we're taking a long time to figure out whether it's something we want to do. And so I understand that position. But Ms. McQueen and Kitaka made the points that we are small, but we continue to be the second largest in the world for nutmeg export. We continue to have, I believe, it's the best cocoa in the world, and it's because that Grenada has something special. So it's just a matter of figuring out what is best for us with that, and not thinking, oh, by the time we do it, it's not going to make any money anymore. I don't believe it. I believe when
Right.
it comes to agriculture products, we have a track record where we can produce the best, and certainly the fear that everybody's going to get high and go crazy with marijuana and stuff like that, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. All right,
No, but I
that
mean,
is not making any sense.
but I mean,
And alcohol is even more dangerous.
the position of both Kitaka and Ms. McQueen is well accepted. I have accepted the position that yes, we quantity may not be the position that we may have to go for. We may have to go for quality. But as I said, you just don't. These are things that you have to again spend some time analyzing and further researching. And it's showing that when we make a decision, is the best decision for this country. I mean, I don't think we should just jump on the bandwagon of every single thing that we believe has some economic benefit, but we have
But
to
but
also
but but but
understand
but
other
Judd, when
social
we
implications.
when we demonized the marijuana, we had it's a bandwagon we had jumped on, and I
I'm
think
not
one of the
demonizing it.
no, I'm not speaking about you
Yes.
specifically. You're not demonizing it. It's just something we need to know, Judd. Um, um, but the position of people, there's a stigma attached to smoking weed, right? It came from the rastas and the way we demonized rastas for a long time. It's where rastas were taboo in Grenada. They were the big head people, big hair, who lived in the hills, and so because they had a different way of living that we did not understand, which we COVID has taught us, and as Kitaka would agree, maybe a better way of living that helps us to adapt better to difficult times when our technology is no longer at our fingertips, and our amenities are not there. But we have this taboo about marijuana, and I think that is informing the government's position on how they should move forward on this. Yes, you're researching, and yes, decisions have to be carefully taken when you're taking decisions on a national scale. I get that. But I believe, things that, and the church, the position of the church, and I mean, I think the church has its hands and in it too much in the business of economics of this country. The church does not do anything to help with the economic development of the country, and really should not have so much sway and so much influence and power over the economic decisions of the country. The church encourages a lot of poverty, as far as I'm concerned, by interfering in things that they have no business interfering in. Deal with the spiritual issues and leave the economic issues to the people who have to deal with that. But I think the taboo is one of the problems, and we need to get over that. We need to stop seeing it as marijuana is something you do in the dark. You go by the drug dealer and you buy a joint to smoke and stuff like that, because it's not about that. But I think that this is a mindset and this is the attitude that our policymakers bring to the table when they even talk about it or think about it. Tell
Judd,
Dr. Mitchell, tell Doc I said move faster on the thing.
Judd,
McQueen has a
Yeah, brother,
wonderful
Judd,
way
before
to
we
my
say it.
last word I would like
relevant,
to say, Judd, we
let me
have
just
the pedophile and them we have in
But
Grenada.
Miss McQueen, Judd was
I
trying to
just
Oh,
want to
respond
ask
to
sorry.
our
Alicia.
guest. Let him
Sorry,
Alicia, I
Judd.
mean, is there a reason why you want us to move fast on this? You have land started for it?
I have lands. My family, we are land owning people. We're blessed with that. There's a lot of Canadians are, which is why it makes me so sad when I see us acting as if we're a bunch of paupers to foreign investors. But I have lands, and should it become a viable option, I would be happy to follow through. And I won't be smoking most of it. I'll be selling it.
Oh, Kanishka,
I like the
also
word
to
most
add,
of it. Most of it.
John, to add to you, like when you speak to the Prime Minister about it, please tell him that in terms of my major concern is that when we do the legislation to make it, to write the laws in a way that the average man on the ground could benefit, and that the criteria to get license is not way up in the sky where we cannot afford to benefit in the local economy. So we have to really look at that aspect where the man who have 500 acres and how much $100,000 to buy a license, he could find a way to connect and benefit. So that is my
No,
little
And
piece
no,
to
and
say.
don't and, and, and don't
this
make
is
and don't make it a
absolutely
CBI option.
this is absolutely right, Kitaka. In fact, I can't remember which island where some wheat farmers was complaining that they were not benefiting. They were been planting it for years, and they're faced, they've been ostracized, and now it's become illegal, and they're not benefiting from it. So I think all those things need to take into consideration when we're looking at whether to decriminalize and legalization routes. All those things to be considered. As I rightly said, we have to look at the science behind it and the socioeconomic implication. Queen, I know you had a point coming in.
Yes, Judd, it was quite embarrassing for me when I had a visitor and they turned around and said to me they were shocked to see the sexual abuse that goes on, that is carried on with our children here. Personally looking at it, it seems like when a child is sexually abused, before it comes to court, that child is married, has grandchildren, and is ready to go to her grave. When a guy, they caught someone with a bit of marijuana, within 2 weeks, that person would be tried, fined, and put aside. What are we going to do with these people that is molesting our children, the future? It is out of hand. What do you think as a young politician? Do you think the law is tough enough? It seems everybody abusing, everybody is taking a bit of our young kids.
I don't believe the law is tough enough in my opinion, and I think we need to do more and get in eradicating this demonic activity from our society. I mean, it hurts my heart every time I've learned about that. I mean, the most recent case, which I've shed my thought on, was when the situation. Well, it's not the most recent case, but the situation that I've said my thought on is when the situation with the young guy who would have had the interference with this young male, this baby, basically in I think in St. Andrew. Um, and this guy, I think was what I was $100 and something dollars or something. I can't remember the amount, and end up fleeing the country. Um,
And just do you know, I went out, myself, Earl, and Ian, we went out to get signatures to change the law. Do you know lots of Grenadians refuse to sign the petition so the law can be changed quickly to protect our children? There were people that was laughing in our face. There were people that came up. Earl was there, Earl Maitland and Ian was there, and they were saying they're not signing, they were not interested. That shocked me. That really, really shocked me. And I'm really pleased to hear you say that your sentiment is the same like ours.
Yeah,
I'm
I
really,
think we need to
that
do
gives me
more.
hope.
I think this needs to be done. This has to be eradicated from our have to be eradicated from our society, and it has to be done. We have to put stronger laws in place. We have to enforce those laws, not just having it, but we have to enforce those laws,
And
and we
Judd
have to educate our people. We have to
Montpure
educate.
is willing, Judd. Montpure would sponsor a special room or even give the government a special room where these children and them could be give evidence by video and have when you the rooms and the police and them the kids and them has been through so much, and what they have the way where they are interviewed after being abused. I personally would take my money out of my pocket and pay for a special place so we can look after our children properly. It seems like, we really have to sort that out. I don't want to put it as a criticism. If I can help and I'm reaching out to you, I would like to see our young babies are not treated in that way after they've been abused.
I strongly and I appreciate you reaching out. In fact, I really believe that we should definitely engage you moving forward on this, because this is something that we need our support on this and other things. But we really need more people to be involved in that sort of discussion and getting this thing out of our society. And that's my strong position. I'm not going to compromise on this one at all. But it is important that we end this for once and for all.
Well, I mean, certainly, the government has finally begun to take some action. I know they were reviewing the criminal code, for quite a while, and it appeared as if nothing was happening. But certainly, they've made some recommendations. I know the lawyers were very upset about some of the the recommendations that came out of the Attorney General's office. But certainly, some attempt is being made to change the playing field when it comes to dealing with criminal offenses that have to do with sexual abuse of our children. And I was just noticing a comment from one of the viewers that says that, sexual abuse is deeply rooted in our culture. And it's the same point I was making on last night's program when we talked about what was going on in the police force with reports of sexual assault and nothing being done about it. That it is, and our viewer is making the point that the abuser is protected more than the victim. And sometimes I don't think that the people who are doing it, I think it's done automatically. Sometimes it's not even a deliberate planned attempt to do it, but just that this is our way of thinking generally when it comes to those issues, and that our mindset really needs to change as well on those issues. It's
I strongly support you on this.
otherwise we would always have that problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I strongly support.
Deeply
We need to take action on this.
Yeah. One of the questions, I can't let you go without asking you. One of the, debushing seems to have been made a prominent part of the government's employment strategy. It's not something I would like to see us move forward with in the future. I believe that the productive sectors are the areas where our labor force needs to be employed. Certainly not in the debushing thing. I keep saying I call it disgraceful. I think it's a disgraceful program by the government. Certainly a major disappointment. Do you see the bushing as okay? It's 20 years down, 15 years down the road, and your generation are now the ones who are leading, and you are in a party that has won the election, and the bushing is still happening. Is that something you would continue with? Do you feel like this is something that can go forward in Grenada's future as employment for our people?
Well, first of all, Kalisha, I would say that I don't want to make it seem like these people are doing a disgrace to our country. I mean, they're playing some role in our development. I mean,
No, no, no,
when
no.
it's not.
Judd, half the times they're digging up the banks on the side of the road and causing erosion. It's clean, 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 clean. But when the
Well,
rain
probably
fall
we can
now,
disagree. We can
all
disagree.
the soil
We
washing
can
out.
disagree. We can disagree, and maybe how it's done. We can disagree, or maybe we can agree on whether the banks being clean is the best procedure. Yes, probably that may not be the best, but I could tell you this. Um, I grew up in a very poor household. You know, and my mother at one point in time did that sort of activity, and it helped me go. It sent me to school, and it helped me develop. But do I see that 20 years from now, Kalistra? I would 20, 30 years from now. I don't really foresee that. I think Grenada is an attractive development, and this some of those activities will be thing of the past. But I don't want it ever seems like these roles that they're playing are disgrace or disservice to our society, our development. No, it's not. I don't think it is. Um, it is actually contributing to households, contributing to the development of a lot of people, and these things. That's what happens. But 20 years from now, 30 years from now, certain things obviously will not be in existence. I'm from now. And that's the
You
tough
know,
reality. That's change. If I'm saying
you,
20,
you
50
know.
years from now, I'm saying this thing, then clearly we're not going to clearly that's not development.
Well, I was thinking more 10 years, 10, 15 years into the future.
You
Not
said 20. I'm going to work with the
and
20.
I also said 15 and 10. So let's work with 10 and 15.
No, I'm
But
going to
I
stick with
mean,
the 20.
I was not in any way, there are very hardworking people in our country who cannot find employment because the environment is not being created for increased productivity in the nation. And so my description of disgraceful is not an indictment against the people who do the work, because all employment is noble if you work hard and you give a full day's work for a full day's pay. But the government seems to have this as one of their flagship programs. They talk about it all the time and how much millions they're going to be spending in debushing, and there are always allocations for it. I mean, they can't even give the busmen a subsidy right now, and the busmen, there are hundreds of them who also have to feed people and also have households to manage. And they'll tell the Prime Minister that he really needs to give the busmen a subsidy, given that they have carried his transportation sector without any support from him for decades. Don't forget to tell him I said that. So no,
I know
but
you're very critical of yourself, by the way.
But Kalishda, guys, we have to wrap up very soon. We've been going
yeah,
on. But I want to ask a
all right.
final
I
question to
think
John.
I think the debushers should be sent to plant marijuana. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, but can John, question for you as a leader and as a potential and as a future, maybe I must say parliamentarian, prime minister, whatever aspirations are. Like, what is that dream transformational project that you have that you would want to actualize to change the course of Grenada and history and to cement your legacy as one of the politicians, the great politicians or the great leaders that would have come out from the spice.
Well, Kitaka, first of all, I want to start that development is really a long process. Um, the thing about it, we're the few islands, country that we are impressed, and we're actually impressed with them because they have done it in one generation. There are some countries that have done it in several generations. In fact, people make reference to China, done it within 60 years. Singapore did it within 40 years. Um, um, I view Grenada moving from. I think we can be the Singapore. That's my view, right? I think we can reach that point of probably being the Singapore in our unique way, of the region. A small island country, development. We can do it. Of course, if you look at the story of Singapore, they were a poor country, no natural resources, but they were able to transform within 50 years. I mean, within 1965 to 1990, they were changed from a third world to a first world country. We can do it. I believe we can do it, but it takes strong leadership. It takes sometimes you're making those hard decisions and people may not even see it. Um, because as I said, development comes with a cost. It comes with you taking some strong decision, and that is my view. We becoming that lot of Singapore of the region. I also want to see us utilize the ocean resources. Um, the concept of the blue economy is not really new. The idea of the concept of the blue economy is not really new, right? Because we are already doing it. Um, they actually just a transition in the terminology from ocean economy to blue economy, with the ocean economy being the use of resources unsustainably, while the blue economy trying to promote the use of resources sustainably. So we need to look at the ocean. What are the value of that ocean, and that can use to contribute to our development. We need to have strong land use policies towards our development as well, because that's important. Otherwise, we'll have a discussion about the mangroves and destruction and those things like that. We need to have strong land use policy. I will continue to see tourism playing a role in our development, but may not be as significant as it is playing now. Agriculture, of course, we need to definitely feed ourselves, be able to produce food. We need food security is an important thing. Um, our infrastructure development have to be cross world, as well as we have to have as well our ICT development. We have to have technology at the helm and at the core of our development. I mean, there are a lot of things. Look at the situation with COVID. People still standing in lines, trying to pay bill. You could do that online, right? So we have to transform this country, and I think we are getting there. Um,
Jude, Judd,
Today,
I'm so looking forward to being a part of you guys. I'm so looking forward to working with you. I'm so looking forward to next year, please God, bringing home the goal for the best water in the world. I am behind you, the younger generation, 100%, and I will be there. I always say, not in front of you, not on the side of you, but at the back of you guys. When you fall, we're going to hold you up.
I appreciate that.
So go for it.
Judd,
Go
Judd,
for it.
I think you just recruited a new member of the new national party.
And I hope we can recruit you,
Oh, she been
Kitaka.
carried
I
away.
hope
Please
we can
let
recruit
Dr.
you and
Mitchell know.
Kitaka as well.
No, no, John, my house is at NMP house, you know, John. I'm just
Yeah,
only,
it's not that I made that
I'm
public.
just undecided still.
I
Kitaka,
suppose,
go
My house is a media house.
ahead.
John, I suppose I've been told, I tell them I have to go and make Tanya log for a prime minister. And I don't think they think they're taking it as a joke. We have to look after our prime minister.
Bro, before I end, I want to say a few words on the leader. I admire Dr. Mitchell. Um, when I hear the conversation about, and I want to just speak about that before I leave. When I had the conversation, is it's time for him to leave. I mean, I don't first personally, he has not demonstrated that it is time. I think he's still showing the vitality. In fact, I saw someone 69 the other day. And when I saw that individual, I'm like, he's 69. Our prime minister is a bit older, and you can see our prime minister doesn't even look his age. He look as 50
He has
something.
a
I mean,
good hairdresser, Judge.
but the point I'm making is as well. Um, he is actually his leadership now compared to him in the past is different. You will hear him speak about it all the time. You hear him say the best time in his government is the last 6 years. We were not being able to give stimulus packages if we didn't manage our economy very well. Starting in 2013, we would not have been able to do that. There are countries and islands that are not giving stimulus packages. So I really will commend the leader, and I see him being on the helm for a couple more elections. Um, but I will say though, he's one of the most youth-friendly leader that has come across. I've listened to discussion of leadership in other political parties, and it's not as great as how Dr. Mitchell would do it. Dr. Mitchell would mentor you. In fact, I would say to some people is in some cases it gives you a better response than even your own fellow youth. So
I agree. I
I
agree.
I think sometimes I think we paint him in that bad picture, but his leadership I really commend it, and I think he will go down in history as one of the best leaders. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't have his shortcomings, but he'll go down in history.
Judge, every time I go to him, I have written to him and I've written to members of parliament, and they totally ignore me. Every time I have reached out to him, he has always responds. People say he does it but he always responds. And I like a lot of the things that he does. And that is the reason why when I see things that I do not like, I will speak about it. And I think that is the only how he going to know is when we speak about it rather than not speaking about it and being scared of saying we're going to be victimized. People have to speak about things that is not right. That is only how he going to know about it.
And I appreciate that. I mean, the conversation, we need this sort of conversation. If we're not doing that, listen, we're not a perfect system, and people have to understand it. So when you encounter the challenges and you speak, we know that we need to fix it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the reality. We have to have this frank discussion. I mean, we live in a democracy, and people need to be open and speak freely. And these are the only way that you will know that listen, there are problem here. I need to fix this. I need to do better. I mean, if people are not giving you those responses, if everybody are praising you on a good work, then something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong.
Well, if 30 years on, Doc is unaware of some of the fundamental problems that we are having in this country, I have to wonder where he's been for the last 30 years because he's been at the middle of it. And, you talk about history being kind to the Prime Minister's leadership. Which history are we talking about? History is not
Kalisha,
going to be.
Kalisha,
I don't believe history is no. History
Kalisha,
is
let me say
not
this, right?
going to be
I
kind to
think
the
we
Prime
sometimes
Minister's
put the
leadership.
point that Dr. Mitchell had 30 years straight in governing this country. That's not true, right? Yes, he has spent 30 years in the parliament, but it's been 30 years straight managing this country. We
Well,
had
well,
several challenges along the
the
way.
NDC. We've had several challenges along the way, and I'm not saying that he's going to go down in history as the absolute worst leader we have. Others may come along who are going to take that position, who are going to take that title. But the bottom line is that we cannot. It's one thing for you as a party member to praise the prime minister, right? And I have no problems with that. I would be surprised if you're not praising him, right? But I don't. We cannot be lulled into the prime minister's personality. The prime minister has a great personality when he chooses to use it. He can say what you want to hear when you want to hear it. Okay, he can do the mobelang and the confusion, and he can when he's in New York and he thinks that the diaspora is gonna respond to talk about the nurses and the doctors teeth in chicken. Then he knows when to say it, and he knows when to get all buttoned up and attempt to be statesmanlike because he wants to smooch some big investor or something like that. He's good at that. He knows what to say to the youths to make them think that the NNP's arms are open to them and that the future belongs to them and the decisions that are being taken. You talk so much about the blue growth, the blue growth project. That in itself is an area of concern about how we are going to treat with that and how we are going to move forward with that and how much of our national assets we are going to have to give away to be able to get in on this blue growth thing. A lot of the decisions that this government has taken, talking about we're too small to tell people don't cut down our mangrove, or having somebody in this day and age, after all the scandals that we've had, after the offshore scandals of the 1990s, was it? When we took baby steps into that, and a lot of mistakes were made. We messed up really bad. The reputation of the country was shredded, and we're still in the late 2000s, still in the 2000s, still at this point, having people able to run away with raising $51 million and running away with it without even putting in 1 ounce of 1 fluid ounce of water into a tank to grow shrimps. We're still making the same mistakes with him at the helm. The NDC was in government from 1990 to 95 and from 2008 to 2013. The rest of it has been him, including when Robert Blaze was in power, when he was a member of government and was part of the very powerful Ministry of Works. He has been part of the leadership and part of the key aspects of our development for the last 30 years. And quite frankly, even now, we continue to be duped. Mistakes continue to be made. Our development, you talk about Singapore, Singapore's development is impressive, and everybody talks about it, how well they did in such a short time and how well ordered everything is. And this would be my hope for Grenada. But certainly, our leaders need to become a bit more mature in the decisions that they make. It's one thing to love Dr. Mitchell. I mean, when he dances on the platform, you could buy into that, and the tight pants and stuff like that, and his battle against aging. I admire his battle against aging. Kudos. And he needs to tell me what hair dye he uses because I haven't been able to go to the hairdresser. So that's great. But when we look at where Grenada is right now for the last 30 years and putting that side by side with the big talk that he talks, we're not going anywhere except giving a lot of what we have to foreigners. And we need to stop that. Okay, he needs to put his money where his mouth is and show some tangible belief and some tangible faith in the people by making some more real opportunities available. I mean, he doesn't even think it makes sense to give the busmen a subsidy. He shouldn't even have had to think about that. Transportation needs to get back on the road. The busmen have been operating. The government has had not to pay anything to run a national transport service. That has been private sector. So now the private sector that has given you an essential service for all these years is in crisis. You want to think about it that long? Go into the transformational fund, take some of the CBI money and give it to the busmen. If you really don't want your voters to pay 50 cents more, or as Judd said, $1 a day for buses.
All right. I hear you. I know Kitaka. I know you're advanced enough. But I would say this. I believe we have faced severe challenges over the years of our development. You have to deal with major hurricane costing us. The destruction of those hurricanes was at the cost of 20 something billion. If you add Hurricane Ivan, 22.5 billion, Hurricane Emily, 1.5 billion. This was significant cost to a small country that has a GDP of 3 billion. So we have those severe costs. Then you have to deal with the fact that you had the economic crisis, and during this time NDC was in government. I'm not going to the rate of blame game, but clearly there was some sort of not so good management. because we got to know what debt to GDP ratio was ranked at
Well,
110%.
that's an
And these
understatement, Judd.
these are the things that we in 2013 coming in, we have to come back and try to fix. I mean, we have to remember those challenges would set us back. And every time we try to rebound, you have a next one again. Look, COVID-19 put us back in the next session. Yes or no, people will forget COVID-19 and say we didn't do well. But you forget the situation that we face COVID-19 costing us again money. And we have not even I find personally that I don't think the government gets the credit enough for the management of
Judd,
the situation.
sir, as a
So
returning,
to be paying salaries where no money technically is not really even coming in. Government is doing a very great job. I mean, look at in solution. Have to take care cut, lay off workers. This is not happening here. Well,
it
as far
is,
as I'm
Judd.
concerned, at this
It is
time,
happening. It is
I'm
happening, Judd.
from the public service standpoint. But the point I'm trying to make, I don't want us to go too long because I already 1 hour and 51 minutes. But it's
It's the longest we've ever gone.
Judd, before I go, people are crying out for a third party. People, as I say, I'm a returning national, and I've never voted in Grenada because I went away as a child. But people are crying out for a third party. They want a third party. What do you think of a new opposition party?
Well, to be honest with you, I think um, people want to be part of the democratic process of making their voices be heard and putting plans on the table. Is all welcome. At the end of the day, the people will decide whether or not the plans of the third organization or fourth or fifth organization that will come along, whether it is one that is a part that they will want to go along. I don't think we should spend so much time on it. I think the system is already there for them. If third, fourth party want to venture in it, we are welcome. I think there are 30 something parties I think as registered as political organization. And we welcome those things. But at the end of the day, sometimes you don't necessarily have to agree with NMP on some policies. And Kalisha clearly have some. Kitaka may have a few, and certainly you too, Mr. William. I maybe have a few myself. You don't have to agree. In other words, I see an election as having a checklist. You have a checklist, and there are certain things that you'll start marking off on. In terms of policies, who have the better policies? But a policy, an idea, is just an idea. It's just an idea. Anybody could come for the idea. Winty idea of building a bridge from Grenada to Carriacou is not a bad one. It's certainly not a bad one. I would have loved to drive from here to Carriacou, make Carriacou feel and Petit Martin feel connected to Grenada. But then you have to deal with the reality. Where are we going to get the resources to deal with that? Is that a priority? These are the things that you really have to discuss. And this is where leadership and comes in, and that's where the next discussion comes in when it comes to selecting an organization. The leadership is someone that will drive the idea and plans for you to get it to achieve it. And if the leadership is weak, you won't support it regardless of how the plan is, how good the plan is. If the leadership is strong, there's a chance that you will support it. And you have to look at the team. What is the construct of the team? Is the team a credible one? Is a team that we will trust? Is a team that cares? Is a team that understands the mission and plans? These are the things that you will go on the polls and vote on. And these are the things that makes people, not that sometimes people vote for NMP doesn't mean that they necessarily like the NMP, but when it compares to all the other political organizations that puts a plan forward, it's NMP has a better plan. Doesn't necessarily mean the best, but it's the better of all the plans that is put forward.
Yeah, and guys, Kalishta
And
here, but guys, we have to cut it here. We have to
well,
cut it here.
I was about to wrap up and thank Judd quite nicely for giving us so much of his time. It is the longest that we have ever gone. We have given the NNP very special treatment tonight. Tell him.
I will do that.
So I want to thank you, Judd, for being on the program. I have quite a few more questions for you about the leadership
Judd,
and so on.
while you're on the show, excuse me, Kalishta, while you're on the show, Judd, I think you have to come back for part two because you didn't finish. So we have to agree for part two sometime. Anytime, yeah. But for me, I think I'm very proud of you, Judd. for coming on to the show. Thank you for coming on. And for me, I think more and more conversation 473 presents this platform where we could have the uncomfortable conversations and bridge the divide and really unify ourselves with everyone, no matter the color, no matter the creed, no matter the sexual preference, no matter the how we eat, no matter what we do, how we walk, where we from, no matter the socio-economic state. We all have our part to play to come together and build Grenada. And it all goes well for fostering that unity. The college that has followed, Miss Martin has followed me, and you will have our followers. But the followers should not make the country follow. We have to work together and build.
I support that, Kitaka. I strongly believe that we need to, at the end of the day, after I just using an election, for example, after an election, elections are just what it is. In fact, an election is the most easiest process. But development and carrying the weight of the country is sometimes very hardest thing because you don't always please everyone. And it's about your country and about really seeing your people grow and seeing your people develop. I mean, I will always ask, what is the view for a Grenadian? Like, what is my view for you, Kitaka, as a Grenadian? I mean, people have to respect you. Just because you come from Grenada, a small island, someone from a bigger country will feel like they. We have to, we have to create that sort of national pride in our people. That I feel proud to be a Grenadian, and this is the future that we need to create. And I think we're going to get there. And that is the sort of discussion that we need to have. Having different views, and as I said, I mean, Tevin and Ron and I and Kieran will, I mean, we not in SU, Ron, Kieran and I will have lunch together and we'll have big disagreements. But we understand that. I mean, this is the future of our country. At the end of the day, all of us need to come together and work for the development of this country. At the end, that is our place and we need to develop.
I
All right,
agree.
so that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you to our viewers. We had lots of comments. Our viewers were really engaged on this program tonight. And I want to say thanks to Judd, thanks to Rolanda, thanks to Kitaka. And please extend an invitation to the Prime Minister. We would love to have him on our program at some point. He can sit up at his veranda, which I have a very clear view of from my bedroom window. And he can even wear shorts and stuff. It's that kind of program, where we relax and chill and to chat with us about what's going on in the country. It's been a while since I got the chance to interview him. So thank you, everybody, and thanks for viewing. Bye, everybody.
Drive safe
All right.
home, Judd. Drive
All right.
safe.
See ya. All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Remember to wash your hands to stop the coronavirus. Finish.
This message is brought to you by Mount Pure Mineral Water, silver medalist in the 2020 Berkeley Springs International Water